Good afternoon. My name is Ivan Ang. I'm from 10X Leadership, and I'm here with a very special friend of mine, and been a friend for a long time, and someone that I respect highly. And I am going to assure you, I'm going to guarantee you that you're going to learn so much from her today, because she's someone that is not only a wonderful person but also a wonderful leadership coach as well. A fellow team member of the John Maxwell team. And I'm going to hand it over to introduce you to my good friend, Mrs. Ingrid Gattari. So Ingrid, why don't you say hello to everyone and introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, and they were very kind words. Thanks, Ivan. So a little bit about me. How did I get into leadership? Well, I had the wonderful privilege of leading teams of volunteers in a non-leveraged position, and of course, because I had no wage packet or position or title to threaten or inspire people to follow my lead, I had to rely on some very core skills. So that was where I learned my leadership skills. And it wasn't until later, now I'm working in our company called Achievers Group, that I'm using those skills and formalising them in training programs. So that's what we do. Achievers Group is a boutique business development company, and we predominantly work with small and medium enterprises. We love that space, and usually the business owners are in transition. They're wearing many hats. They're often very tired and working long hours for very little money, and they call us in to help them out. And I work particularly with the business owner and the team to develop their people.
Yeah, and I've worked with Achievers Group before, and I absolutely adore and love what they stand for, and as to what Ingrid and her wonderful husband Tony has been able to achieve in terms of sales results in particular, and as well as being able to impact so many business owners. I've attended a number of Tony's presentations, and they're always filled with energy, aren't they? Aren't they, Ingrid?
Power packed. It's what I call, he does a huge brain dump. He's very passionate about business, and he just gets everything out of his head and delivers it off. And often our participants come out going, "Oh, I need a glass of wine, or I need to relax," or something, because it's just so power packed.
Absolutely, absolutely. And not only is it power packed, I guess the thing that really impacts me, and I can still remember some of the presentations I attended with Tony, they are so practical, aren't they? They are so practical that they give you great stuff about business, about your business that you need to think about. And what I really love is that when I heard that Ingrid was joining the John Maxwell team, and knowing full well that she was going to really complement what Tony's doing, and being able to impact not just on not just Tony making an impact on the business itself, but then we actually have Ingrid coming alongside the business owner and really having that duality of an approach. You know, it's so great. It's so refreshing to have businesses like Achievers Group and as well as 10X to be able to look at how we can impact both the business and the business owner, don't you think, Ingrid?
Absolutely. Look, we love to take a principles and practice approach. We're both very practical in our thinking and just as individuals, and so we just take that into you know, what we do with our training, and essentially we just walk alongside the business owner. And most business owners are highly skilled. They're very smart at what they do, but because they are small and SME business owners, they are wearing lots of hats, and so they'll have a strength zone. It may be in their technical skills, might be in sales and marketing, like Tony, for example, and then they've got to put on their HR hat, and they often fall down in some areas. So we just come alongside and we help them out in a very, very practical way.
Yeah, and that I just want to go back to one of the points you raised, Ingrid, which I think is absolutely fascinating. That whole aspect that you start off with business owners who are very good at a certain skill set or a certain activity or their products. In effect, what they are really good managers, aren't they? So we've got really great managers, but how do we actually get these guys who are great managers to transition across to becoming leaders in their business as their business grows?
Well, I think that's a really great question, and it's a very hot topic at the moment. There's a lot, I'm finding with our clients that there's a lot of confusion around what is leadership. And I'm really pleased you brought that up, because management isn't leadership. You can be a leader and manage, and there's lots of crossover in the skills, and that's where I think the confusion really lies, is that with leadership it's about transformation, whereas often managers are very transactional in their approach, and there's a vast difference between these two approaches. Let me explain that for a second. Being transformational is taking someone, believing in them, showing them the way to go, encouraging them in their skill sets. Sometimes a leader might have to bring a little bit of change and put a hard word on them, but the essential part of transformational leadership is the fact that the leader really does care for that other person that they're leading. Now, as opposed to that, so getting back to your question, how can an SME business leader move from or realize that they're just managing? Well, they do the John Maxwell courses. That's a fantastic way of approaching things. There's lots and lots of material out there. And it's my research, though, that the more traditional leadership training companies are predominantly training that crossover skills of management and leadership together, whereas the John Maxwell material deals specifically with transformational leadership, and there's a vast difference. So really, how can a manager bust through that lid is really just by doing some courses and getting skilled up, talking to people like you and like myself and the other John Maxwell coaches and trainers around the world, and they can give it a go. And where I learned leadership was I sat in underneath a leader. That's what it was. This person, these people, they wanted to see me grow as a person in my skill set, as a team leader, and I just organically soaked that all up. And so that's one really fantastic way of learning how to lead, is to go and sit under someone, find a leader, sit under them and watch and learn. That's just so empowering in such a way. And I think people really get it then. They really get the difference between leadership and management when they see someone actually participating in those activities.
Yeah, that's such a great point, Ingrid. And there's a slightly different take on that as well that I wanted to bring to the table, and I think that you're going to agree with me. The aspect of sitting under a leader, I think that you can either have your own personal drive to go and find someone, seek out someone to, as you say, to just mentor you and absorb all the leadership skill sets that you can observe from other great leaders. Now, the other aspect which I truly believe in is that if you are a leader, if you are the actual leader leading a team, there is no doubt in my mind that you need to empower those that are in your team, right? And one of the ways to really empower those people in your team is actually do exactly what you said, Ingrid, to place them under other great leaders, not just yourself, but other great leaders that you admire, and you say, hey, look, just go and spend some time with that person, because you'll just learn things. You're going to learn some of these things that I might not be able to teach you. Yeah,
no, that's great points there, Ivan.
Yeah. And so, what are some of these things? So let's get a little bit more. Let's get a little bit deeper with these things, because I know that it's really on your heart, Ingrid. What are some of the key takeaways that we can see as part of this transformational leadership that's required. I think both you and I have just offered one of the ways that they can actually help their team members grow. What else can you think of? What else comes to mind in terms of transformational leadership?
Okay, so there's two things I'd like to touch on. So there's the coaching methodology, rather than the driver personality type, which I am, telling someone what to do and giving them instructions and showing them how to do it, but really coaching someone through. And then the second one is more about finding our passion. So because we at Achievers Group work with inside the SME space, I work with the business owner, and I like to start at this point where I help them identify their passions. Now, it may not be their business. Now, that's an interesting one. But what I found is that leadership just kind of happens. It kind of just grows like a mushroom in an organisation when someone is working within their passion. Because there's some key elements there. One is when we're working in our passion, we have that's the place of convergence where we are working with our skill sets, our experience, and we don't need to motivate ourselves because we're loving what we're doing. So just like you're working in your passion, I'm working in my passion. I could talk about this subject for hours because it's my passion. Now, what I've noticed is that people won't follow. So let me back up a bit. So with SME leaders, if there's a staff engagement issue, and there's a bit of a hot topic out there in our corporate world as well, is how do you engage your staff? Well, here's how. People will, our staff will come to work and they will do a transaction. In other words, they're swapping their time for the wage packet. Mm. But how do you get them then to step into that place where they come and they're passionate about what they do and they've engaged in the purpose of the business? Well, that comes back to this area of passion and finding our why. So I help business owners find their why. Why are they in business? Why are they doing what they're doing? And what we then find is if there is a cause that's bigger than just wage packet, coming to work, meeting their co-workers and things like that, then all of a sudden there's a purpose and the engagement is incredible. Let me give you one example. One of our clients is an owner of a couple of vet clusters down in Wagga and Griffith and around there. And I did this workshop with him, and it took a little bit of thinking time for him to really settle in his heart and in his mind what his passion was. But his passion, we connected, was that he wanted to change the vet industry. And when you talk to him about changing the vet industry, all of a sudden he's talking for hours. He's very passionate. His face has changed. His hands are going, and he gets very, very passionate. Because what he's found is he's watched, and including in his own life as a vet, he's watched vets come into this incredible industry and burn out in 5 years' time. So what they found, our research has found that vets now surpass dentists with suicide, drug addiction and substance abuse and burnout. Now that's significant. So what he wants to do is he wants to create a model where he creates safety for his vets. And he's working very hard to do that. Now when we presented that to his staff, I tell you, it was just phenomenal. What happened was, it was towards the end of the training day, and then there was silence in the room, and it was just like you could hear a pin drop as they suddenly engaged with his why. they engaged with his purpose because they knew they weren't coming to work anymore just to look after animals and earn their wage packet. They were coming and they were part of a bigger picture. So that's the space where leadership really has its place and really comes into its own, when we're working for a bigger cause, for a really passionate purpose. Does that kind of have I communicated that easily?
Absolutely, Ingrid. And I think that you've actually identified what you know I'm personally excited about as well, because the thing is, part of my what I believe my calling is to really help activate leaders in that pursuit of their passion and their purpose. And I believe, I mean, we're taught as part of the John Maxwell team, you know, that the thing is that it's three overlapping rings in a Venn diagram. It's purpose, passion, and plan. Yes. Oftentimes, you know, I know if you're anything like me, you've had plans which didn't have either purpose, didn't have passion, or had neither of those two. And is it any wonder that those plans didn't work out? You know, I'm sure that people out there have had these type of plans before, and so. Yes. And it's so true in terms of what you said. Once you found your purpose and once you found your passion, it really gets you up in the morning, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And that's where our staff will really engage, and that's where it's really easy then to empower people to move through, because leaders need their team. There is no way you can run a business by yourself. You can't. It just won't grow. You need your team. So. The passion is what drives us forward, and people just come around and they feel excited, and then that excitement leads to empowerment, and off we go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I heard Tony Robbins once said that, you know, emotion starts with motion, and I'm not surprised that person that you were coaching and training. You know, really got animated and got excited, didn't they, about finding their why? And it's so important when you actually have found your why that you act on it. You don't just let it sit there and just do nothing. Yes.
Well, most people won't. You know, I did this workshop for another client of ours, and he builds signs. And a great business that he's got happening there. But things kind of hit a bit of a slow patch. So him and I were talking, and I sat down and I did this workshop with him. And he's passionate about four-wheel driving. And so because he's passionate, there was no way he was going to put it down. In fact, his family was saying, shh, we're sick of four-wheel driving, hearing you talk about four-wheel driving. When people engage in their passion, it blasts them forward, it propels them forward. And then what we find is the people are attracted to the cause and to that why, and they want to help.
Yeah. And that's so true. And one of the things that we share with our clients is that one of the leadership laws is the law of buy-in. That people buy into the leader and then the vision, you know, not the other way around.
Yes.
So and hence that's why you and I know we're kindred spirits in that respect, because the thing is that we want to activate these leaders so that people can buy into them.
Yes.
And then, you know, listen to what's in their heart, what's the vision that comes out of that activation, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, one thing that's kind of really not talked about in corporate circles very much, or really out there in the marketplace, is that people, exactly what you said, people do buy into the leader. So people also buy out of the leader too, don't they?
No, that's interesting.
You know, they'll bail out if they don't necessarily respect that leader. They'll bail out. They'll leave. In fact, I've bumped into some very interesting statistics as I do my research on building the training programs. Is that the number one reason why staff leave here in Australia, leave a place of employment, is because of a negative relationship with their upline.
Yes. Wow.
Fascinating. And so, how easy is that to fix? That's so easy to fix. We can just work on our communication skills, work on our own character and our own challenges, because we're all human and we all have those challenges. No one's any different. And, like we might have a bit of a temper problem, or we might be late to work all the time. These are the things that our staff notice. They will notice, and we've got to deal with those, and it's really easy to fix. It really, really is. And I'm just passionate about helping people just overcome those hurdles. It's not that hard. It takes work, it takes effort.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's and I think, as you say, the thing is, oftentimes it's those easy fix things that may not be as front of mind for a lot of these leaders, that it takes an outsider, a coach, to come alongside, like you, to come alongside them and really identify some of these things that could be fixed relatively easily.
Yeah, and that's, like what we found is, as we work with our clients, is that, they don't really know how to push through that lid, and they don't know how to grow oftentimes. And so it's a perfect place, breeding ground for growth. And so that's why you're doing what you're doing and I'm doing what I'm doing. And we're just helping people move past those barriers and raising their leadership lid and increasing their influence in their team and in their marketplace. It's all very, very good stuff. And coaches, if they're trained well, they'll do a really good job at doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other important aspect of that as well is that not only are we actually helping these leaders get better at leading, we're creating the model. We're effectively creating the model for them to then replicate leadership in their team members that are coming through, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Do you find with your clients that leaders often or managers often have difficulty empowering their staff?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Ingrid. And I think, and that's where we need to do a lot more work with our clients in terms of who do we actually identify as potential leaders, because that criteria that we use for promoting an individual into leadership needs to be very different, doesn't it? It needs to be very different from their capability. Their capability as managers, because managers manage processes, but leaders, they need to have a very different skill set in being able to work with people and inspire people. Don't you think?
Absolutely. And it's interesting when you fully understand that leadership is influence, you can then stand back, and I've done this over the years. I've done this, and I've looked for the influences. And the influences have been many times, people in administration. Like there was one lady, she wasn't in a position of management, but she was an influencer, and she was the accounts person. And, because she was influencing the boss. It was quite fascinating. I've been in other positions where managers had no influence, and people around them influence the team. And a really good way to find out who your influences are in your business is to set a task. Say, for example, Mother's Day is coming up, so I'm organising a Mother's Day lunch. Now, if they do that outside of work hours, then it's not part of their working day and their working week. But to organise people to come along to that takes skills of leadership. It takes influence, it takes connection, it takes rapport, it takes respect. All these very, very key skills which you and I teach about leadership. And that's a fantastic way of testing out your potential leaders in your staff.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me just come back to a point that you raised before, which I think is very important. I think we're coming up to the end of the half hour that I want to spend with you now. But coming back to this client of yours that you helped him find his why,
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer that discovery process of finding the why then translates into finding what is it that they want to actually leave behind. In other words, what is their legacy?
What's their legacy?
They
Yeah.
want to actually leave behind to the world and make a difference and continue on that impact. That impact continues on beyond their lifetime, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It does. Well, you know, our client down in Wagga, he if he can get this right and he can do this, it will change the way the vet industry works. So what we're finding is, or what he's finding is, that as he shares his passion and his why, he's getting people saying, "I'm in. I want in. I want in." And you know, that's exciting because there's something to what he's saying. And so, you know, I've got a very, very fantastic tool that I use to help people find their why. So I'd like to offer that to your listeners, to your viewers, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely, please. So, as with anyone who actually joins in on this broadcast or watches it as a replay, please, by all means, you can feel free to contact Ingrid or myself. Now, Ingrid, what's the best way to actually contact you?
Oh, email, most definitely. So it's ingrid@achieversgroup.com.au. Don't forget to put your I before your E. So ACHIEVERSGROUP, Achievers Group. You can find us online as well, achieversgroup.com.au as well. And I would love to hear from you. So what, shall I tell them about my great offer?
Well, yeah, please, absolutely. And I'd love to see as to how you can help people out in terms of their journey to discovery. Yes,
well, I am given permission from the clients. I mean, we just get such great stories out of this. And in actual fact, I'm going to be, I'm about to start work on my second book on leadership, because I find a lot of leadership material is very US based, and there's not a lot of stories out there in the marketplace of Australian leaders. So I'm collecting stories, and so I'll be talking about these two fellas that I talked to you about today in that book. So that's coming up, watch out for that. But what I'd like to do is I'd really like to offer your viewers my what I really call my navigator workshop, because it creates a plan and a purpose and a pathway forward. So the workshop that I offer my clients is utilizes a very incredible tool. It's a very simple tool. What I normally do is I normally ask the participants to write down their passions, like what they must do before they die. Then we take them through a bit of a process, and it's the question and answers with myself and the participant that kind of challenges their thinking and challenges their prioritization processes. And what we find is that they come to this place of basically it's an aha moment. Sometimes there's a delay between the questions and then that place of, yes, this is my passion. And that's all part of the process, because we all process things differently. And sometimes people need to sleep on things, and they need to chew things over meditatively to work out what they want to do. So that's predominantly what we do. And then the rest is up to them. I normally charge $495 for that, and that's not around an hour or so. It can be longer, it can be less. It really does depend on the individual. But what I'd like to do, Ivan, is I'd like to offer your clients a very, very special deal of $99 for this workshop. Now, look, if someone was to engage, as people do through this workshop, in their passion, it unites their gifts, their purpose, their experience, and it propels them forward like a rocket, where people come behind them, as we discussed with our client, the vet, and it's just phenomenal. So it can have a dollar value of millions to some people. So, you know, $99 is really a bit of a, it's too cheap, I must admit, but there you go. So I'd like to offer that to your clients for a limited time of 7 days from the date of this this recording. And they can contact me on my email, ingrid@achieversgroup.com.au. Check out our website for if you can't grab the spelling of Achievers Group, okay? And that's achieversgroup.com.au, and I'd love to talk to you.
Absolutely, and that's a sensational offer. And in fact, the thing is that I would encourage people who are thinking about what is a process to follow, and would love to be able to work with someone like Ingrid. Please, by all means, contact her. Likewise, I'd be more than happy to help you out with our workshops. I'm running a breakfast 2-hour workshop coming up on the 23rd of April on the 4 keys to leadership that's going to give you explosive growth. So just like what you're talking about, Ingrid, I think we're all talking about activating leaders so that they can actually make a significant impact on their business and as well as their team members, aren't we? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And
indeed.
just on that, so I love to finish off, and this is something that I ask all my guests that come onto this particular broadcast, Ingrid. You know that my passion is in legacy, so I can't let you go. I cannot let you go without asking you, what do you think is the legacy that you wish to leave behind, and what is the impact that you wish to make beyond your lifetime, Ingrid?
Okay. Well, we don't have all night, so I've got to do it in a couple of minutes, so that's going to be hard. So this is my passion. The purpose of my life is to help, is to bring people to a greater place of prosperity. Now, that does not necessarily mean finances. That could be in the area of their relationships, it could be in the area of their business, it could be a whole other area. So that's my passion, is to bring people through our training programs into this place of greater prosperity, because I believe that you know, prosperity is whole person. So it's finances, it's health, it's relationships, it's the whole gambit. Then the other side is of my passion is to help people in third world countries who are chronically poor. Poverty is a killer, as we know, but poverty sees families sell their girls into slavery. It sees people marry outside of the family and go to other nations. It's the root of so much crime around the world. And so I've discovered a wonderful tool called microloans, and I support companies with microloans. So this is my dual purpose, and so my legacy is that if I could just change one family's life in a third world country where they don't have to, so I want to help families come out, just one family come out of poverty, and we'll do that through microloans where they start a business. So that's my passion, that's my legacy, and I'm hoping that somewhere along the line my children, my girls who are teenagers now, will pick that up and move with that as well.
Wonderful, that's wonderful, and I really love hearing that from people like yourself, because I reckon that if you can define it and you can actually clarify what your purpose and what your passion is in life, that's just one step closer to making it come true. So
absolutely.
Thank you very much, Ingrid, and I as I said, you know, I always love hearing from you and talking to you. I mean, we can spend all night, can't we? We can spend all night talking.
And we did last night chatting. It was good.
It was absolutely wonderful, and I can't get enough of both yourself and your wonderful husband, and you've got a lovely family there. And I yet again, thank you very much for your time. I'd love to be able to connect people with yourself. If you are listening to this particular broadcast, you will now know that one of the purposes that I have as part of these broadcasts is to really connect you to great coaches from both Australia, New Zealand, and around the world who you can work with so that you can find out how you can start the journey, start the process of becoming a leader. Because I can assure you that once you understand that leadership can be nurtured, it's not just left for that small percentage of people who are naturally gifted as leaders. It can be nurtured by people like Ingrid and like all the John Maxwell team members around the world. Once you actually can understand that, it's going to make the difference for you. And I can assure you that there are loving, caring people, coaches like Ingrid out there who've got nothing else, who would like nothing else better than to see you activated and become a great leader, and perhaps change the world and be able to, impact communities and generations to come. Isn't that right, Ingrid?
Absolutely. We need more leaders. This nation has to change. This nation must grow, and we can't do it alone. We need leaders.
Great. Thank you very much. Just on that, I'm going to end the broadcast, and we hope that you'll join us next time. And we'll have more coaches that are going to come on board, and they'll have a special message as well. But once again, thank you, Ingrid, and we will definitely be talking soon.
Thanks, Ivan. Have a great evening.
Cheers, guys.